Hey everybody, Thomas Meister here with Ryan Grant. Ryan, how's it going today?
Doing well, Tom. How are you?
Perfect. Yes. Today we're talking about intentional growth. I feel like this is something that we've maybe touched on or very teased previously, but we're headed toward the end of the year, and I think a lot of people maybe trying to get together their business plans and really be intentional about what they can be doing. I love how we're very mindful, pretty much all the time, about being intentional about growth, having a holistic approach, personal, spiritual, and professional. That way you're not missing anything, right? That way you're not failing to plan. Uh, what are some of the things that you're seeing out there and some of the things that we're working on right now as far as growth goes?
Yeah, first and foremost, we're trying to help all of our clients, right? The prospective homeowners, current homeowners. And so our between us and our post-closing team, we're having a lot of conversations around, what's going to happen in the new year with potential tax changes, estate planning changes, changes in retirement, capabilities. And so a lot of people are trying to figure out, okay, where should I be living? And especially with work from home, a lot of people are now able to look at working remotely in different areas. So helping our clients understand, what the best opportunity is for them for the next 20, 30 years of their life is something we're really passionate about right now because there's way more questions than there are answers. And so if you're an Art of Homeownership member, you should be communicating with your Art of Homeownership mortgage professional or real estate professional to start planning for 2021 now. Even if your plan is to do nothing, there's still some tweaks and some things you're going to want to be aware of that will help you, that will save you money, that will potentially improve your overall real estate and financial future. So make sure to connect with whether you're a client of ours or a client of another Art of Homeownership partner. Definitely take the time to go through that review, go through the exercise, make sure there's nothing you're overlooking, nothing you're missing. And if you're wondering, should I do this? Should I not? Just know that, again, not many mortgage companies or not many real estate agents really work in proactive planning, but we do, right? So reach out to whoever your Art of Homeownership professional is, and their job is to help you proactively plan for whatever that next step might be, even if you don't necessarily know it today. They could help you understand it and help you realize it. So I think as a consumer, as someone who owns a home or maybe wants to own a home, it's a phenomenal time to have that conversation because of all of the change, the uncertainty, you know, the new capabilities that we have from a work remotely atmosphere. So I think those are really important from the consumer side.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I think, I've appreciated it from the moment I came over here. And I think even the consumer, right? It's not a normal thing like for the consumer, especially within the real estate and mortgage industry, to be getting more than just a transaction. So, by the way, this is Art of Homeownership Live. Art of Homeownership is a platform, and if you're not a member, then you get 7 distinct services at no cost. So, text the phone number up on the screen wherever it is. I can't tell, and get some information about Art of Homeownership. But let's talk about maybe some more intentional growth stuff because that's actually the reason that I decided to quit my previous job and got involved with you was because I feel like I needed more growth, right? Personally, like it's one thing to grow professionally, but then you eventually maybe hitting a ceiling. And yeah, I want to be more successful in my business, but a lot of the times that's also maybe pertaining to your personal life, right? And especially the consumer. I think it's sad that not a lot of the entire professional industry probably doesn't really, for the most part, care about the success of the consumer again past that transaction. So what are some of the things that maybe we do here, obviously, that separate us from not just in the real estate industry and mortgage space, but some of the things that some of the wisdom that maybe you can even share with some people as far as if you're a consumer in the market, like how can you grow more?
So one of the things that we're working on as a group right now, which is a project we did at the beginning of 2020, and we're starting a little earlier this year because obviously 2020 threw us for a bit of a loop, um, is a project we call the 8 Equities of Life. And one thing that we've has become very apparent to all of us over the last 6 to 8 months is that we can get very mono focused on one aspect of life, and we could really see some great results from that level of focus. But typically, when you lose focus in other areas, it creates this real substantial imbalance. And there are times of purposeful imbalance. Don't get me wrong. There's times when you want to really focus on work, really focus on health, really focus on relationship. But overall, if we're not very cognizant or forthright with what we want out of each area of our life, then it's going to be really hard to find it, right? It's kind of like, trying to find your way on a map where you don't even know where you're going. It's going to be a real challenge. So the 8 equities of life that we talk about are your physical aspect of life, or health, right? Family, spiritual, career, financial, relationships, intellectual, and then personal joy, which I think a lot of people forget to include in their planning phase. And the premise is write down, 3 things in each of those areas that you want to have accomplished over the next 5 years, and then kind of a 1-year benchmark for each one of those. And it's really important that everyone takes it. It's kind of like your New Year's resolutions on steroids, right? Because most time people think they'll write down 3, 4, 5 New Year's resolutions, lose weight, spend less money, create a budget, all the stereotypical stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, but without, you could just focus on those, and other things can slip, right? So we feel like we've captured all 8 of those areas. It's kind of an extension of art of homeownership, right? It's kind of the art of your personal life, right? Where art of homeownership, we tell people we're going to take care of you holistically in every aspect of real estate or finance. Now, obviously, we're not going to help our clients with their health and their relationships. There's plenty of other professionals that'll do that, but we can help our coworkers, right? We can help our employees. We can help our business partners. So we do events all the time. We do, health and wellness, an event where people will come and we'll talk about diet, exercise, health, wellness, mindfulness. We're doing our financial freedom workshop tomorrow for clients, for our partners,
Right.
for our employees, to help them with the financial aspect of kind of what they're trying to accomplish. And
Side note, text freedom to the number on the screen if you want to register for that event. More information. Go ahead.
yeah, I think you have that number backwards, either in the text or on the top. On the top, it's 261. On the bottom, it says
Damn
216.
it. I'll fix it. And for any, keep going. Go ahead.
So that's really the premise of intentional growth, right? Is that you can't just grow in any one area without realizing that the others will suffer. Or when you think of a table, right? You guys can't see my workspace here, but I have a computer, I have a phone, I have some headphones here, a charger. And if I want to add something to this table, something might fall off, right? If it's big enough and I focus on enough, other things are going to fall off the table because there's only so much room, right? There's only so much time in a day. And a lot of times we just keep adding to the table. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And we focus on the things we're adding, and we don't even pay attention to what's falling off. Right? And so that's why it's important to go through those 8 equities so nothing falls off. Everything's accounted for. And then when you go through that, we have a secondary process called your perfect day. And your perfect day has to incorporate all 8 of those things in some capacity. Otherwise, you're never going to get to them, right? You'll have these 8 equities, but your perfect day is only 3 of them, which means 5 suffer. Right? So it's a 2-step process, but the intentional growth aspect of it is really important, because we always gravitate towards the lowest hanging fruit, right? If we need to make money, we focus on that. If we need to get in better shape, we focus on that. If our relationships are suffering, hopefully we focus on those. But we can't do them in silos. They need to be across the board and all collaboratively done at the same time.
Yeah, I think halfway done or more through the 5 a.m. club now, and
Nice.
yes, definitely corny with kind of how it's presented.
Yes. You can get past that. It's an awesome book.
The whole book is like from the story perspective of this weird billionaire surfer dude and and this entrepreneur and this artist, like they're on this adventure or whatever. So it's very cool. But man, yeah, it's like I think that we don't realize how much time we do and don't have. And if you have so many goals and you're trying to be intentional about, again, what you have on the table, what you can even fit there, then like failing to plan is failing to plan is planning to fail, right?
Yep.
Whoever I'm stealing that from. So, and I did verify the phone number is the one on the bottom of the screen. I'm going to fix this later. And if we're going to do a podcast, actually, so for anybody who's listening on the podcast, text freedom to 949-216-5578 if you want more information on the financial freedom workshop.
Yeah, and we'll record it. So if you guys do that, and then for anybody watching this, if you are brave enough to respond, and if you want a copy of the 5 a.m. Club, type it in the chat box, message us, reach out to us, send us a text. I'm happy to, we'll send you a copy of the 5 a.m. Club. You just have to promise to read it.
And the 8 Equities of Life.
Yeah, we'll send you that as well. We'll send you the worksheet to do that 8 Equities of Life. But I think that's the premise, right? Is that most people wait till end of December, beginning of January to write down some New Year's resolutions. They go strong for 30 days, and then life just happens again. Because there's not a full cohesive plan for all 8 of those things, which means it's hard for any one of them to be sustainable. And then the perfect day is not written out. And so again, this is a departure from the business side of Art of Homeownership Live, but I think it's important for everybody. If you're a consumer, client, prospective homeowner, and you want to be a part of this, and you want to, you want us to help you, I'm super excited to do that. I just don't want to overstep my boundaries and become a life coach. But if you're a mortgage professional or a real estate professional, we understand your struggles, right? We know the challenges you're facing. We know the pressures and stress that come along with the job. We know the ins and outs. We know the inconsistency of income. It comes in waves, it comes and goes. So we feel uniquely suited to help people in those industries because we can, we live it every day.
Yeah, and a lot of the times I think, I follow people in other industries. Many times a lot of this information is applicable to everything, right? Like if you're a professional, if you're a person, you probably have a job, right? And if you're looking to improve and be better at that job in your personal life, then yeah, a lot of these principles are always going to apply, but definitely, if you're in the real estate industry, take Ryan up on his offer.
Yeah, and don't just, again, people always talk about business planning, right? There's business planning 2021, or
Yeah.
planning for business success. Those are extremely important. Don't get me wrong, but when they're done in a silo and you can't fit the other 7 equities involved, it doesn't matter what your business does. I mean, if your relationship's suffering, it's going to be hard for you to work, right? If your health is suffering, it's impossible to work. I mean, someone was telling me, I think it was one of my coaches was telling me the other day, imagine you're a billionaire, right? And you're sitting on the beach and you're looking at your $100 million mega yacht, and you have, pile of money next to you, and you look behind you and you have your hotel that you own, right? Like you don't have a care in the world, but you have a sore throat. Every time you swallow, it just hurts really badly. You don't care about anything else in life except getting rid of that sore throat. You've had a really sore throat, you can
Yeah.
barely swallow. It's like the
Yeah.
worst thing in
That's
the world.
awful. That's terrible.
That's the only thing you care about, right? You would
Everything
pay
else
however
matters.
much money you possibly could to get rid of that. So, if you just focus on business and you don't focus on your health, it's no one cares, right? Like you can have all the money in the world, but if you're unhealthy, or relationships are falling apart, or you don't have, you're not mindful or spiritual enough to understand the meaning of what it means to have that type of wealth. I mean, there's just so many things that are challenged when you just focus on business planning. And I don't want to say that's not important, because sometimes business planning and having that income solves or makes things easier, right? In other areas of your life. So they just have to be done in concentration with each other, as opposed to completely separate, because you have to fit it all into a given day.
Yeah, and it never stops. I mean, I forget who one of my previous mentors also was telling me this, is like perfect doesn't exist. Like if you keep trying to make it perfect, like your business plan that you're working on right now for 2021, guess what? Your goal is to make that so perfect that you're just going to have an amazing 2021. Guess what? You're human, and to err is human. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall off that. You're going to have to at some point reevaluate, and you're going to have to really take, like, it never stops, right? 6 months from now, you can reevaluate and say, you know what, some of those goals were unrealistic, and then you improve from there, right? But perfect never exists. A gentleman, a friend of mine, also told me that's something that he, and I think his family does and his company does, is they have this model where anything that they're going to do, it has to be a 7 out of 10. If it's not at least a 7 out of 10, they're not going to do it. And 10 doesn't exist. So that's their model with everything that they do. And I really appreciated that, because I think that, yeah, why are you settling? But guess what? Perfection is something that you build over time. Everyone that you look at, that you think, that you admire, that is successful, right? They're there. You don't see all the other things that they had to suffer through and work through, and the challenges they faced to get there, right? So, yeah. All right, guys. Ryan, any final closing thoughts on this? Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everyone's time, and hopefully we'll see you all at the Financial Freedom Seminar tomorrow. Reach out if you want the 5 a.m. club and the 8 Equities of Life. We'd love to provide it to you and help in any way that we can. And when you're planning for the end of this year, when you're planning for 2021, plan holistically, right? Do it together, whether you're working on your personal self or whether you're working on your real estate and financial self. Reach out to your Art of Homeownership professional and make sure to put that plan in place there as well.
Yep. And guys, if you have an idea for something you'd like Ryan and I to touch on in the future, a topic you'd like us to cover, we're doing this because, again, we want to be intentional about our growth and really to help us all, right, collectively pursue a better version of ourselves. So please, if you got something out of this, give it a quick like, give it a quick comment, say thanks, and we'll